imagine if you train one and that one trains two, and then those two train two. What you're developing is a very high level, high quality system that is multiplying without your input. If you set the standard at the right height and where the gold standard needs to be, and you maintain that, so in other words, we've got to be very vigilant to make sure that the lines don't get blurred, then what you'll find is that that will give you some leverage. How old are you going to be before you start to experience life like you want it? I want to tell you right now, whether you like it or not, there is a better way to do business. Hi everyone, welcome to the Business for Builders podcast. Welcome to you if you're in YouTube land. My name's Max, I'm your host. Thanks for joining with me. If you are brand new, I appreciate you stopping by. If you've been around for a while, like I get a lot of emails telling me that they're long-term listeners, I really appreciate your really appreciate your love. So it's great to have everybody in the house tonight, and I hope, or today, depending on where you are and when you're listening to this. But again, we want to make sure we can deliver some value to you and your business, because we want to be a group of kick-ass business owners, because that's what we do. Quick bit of housekeeping: like and subscribe, tick the bell, all that kind of wonderful stuff. Be sure to drop a comment if you're that way inclined. Maybe even give this little old podcast a review. I don't know how you do that, but if you figure it out, let me know. Email me, max@elitebusinessadvisory.com. That'd be awesome. Some good karma, putting it out there. We really need to pull together as a community, even though, yep, we're all running different businesses and essentially we're competitors. I think there's more than enough opportunity in the location that you're in. And I think that there's a lot of people doing it badly, and I don't think you're one of them. So it's good to have you along, and the fact that you're open-minded and want to improve, that is a great way to begin. Don't forget the Business for Builders VIP Facebook page. If you're a good sort and you're in construction, hit the join button, and if you are a good sort, I'll let you in for sure. I encourage a bit of conversation and communication in that forum as well, because we didn't just sort of put that together just for shits and giggles. We really want to try and take advantage of the combined knowledge that would be in that digital room, if you like, and I think that would be very helpful. And sort of, I'm always got my eye on that, so I'm ready to chime in and help out where I can. So don't be strangers on there. Just ask a question, and please, there is no such thing as a stupid question. We're all at different stages in our business development program or process, and so if there's something that you do know, have a heart to share rather than to criticize, because I won't put up with any bullshit. So that's a bit harsh, wasn't it? That was a bit of a different dark tone. But just laying it down, making sure that everyone gets a bit of a shot at success, because that's what we want. So tonight, here on the Business of Builders podcast, we're going to hit part 2 of Scalability, in the Scalability series, I should say. We kicked off last episode, having a lot to talk about, some of the characteristics as it relates to scalability. And so on this episode here, we're just going to quickly talk about, I'm going to give you 5 tips to empower your team, to enable you to grow and succeed using this training approach, let's say. Look, I don't believe that we need to complicate things ridiculously. Let's face it. If we can do something, using a simple version, we're not into complication. We don't want that in our life. We can't really duplicate something that's too complicated, so we want to keep it simple. So I guess today, incorporating the components that I'm going to chat with you about over the next 15 or 20 minutes, I think it's going to enhance your capability and effectiveness, as a business developer. And because as I mentioned on the last episode, if we want to build that $5 million business, and folks, let's start. I used to kind of, enjoy trying to take builders to $1 million, and it's fairly reachable, I would say. It's not hard to do. I think once we start talking about $5 million in revenue, now we're starting to think about, okay, we must be ninjas. We must be professional entrepreneurs, professional builders, and we need to have the right systems in place. And of course, we're going to need some good people. So today I'm going to chat with you really quickly and share a real quick story. And if you ever get into a room with me, and we're talking about the possibility of yours truly bringing you on as a coaching client, I will tell a story in this regard. This is definitely straight out of that presentation, but it's really going to hopefully give you some insight and some understanding as to, right, what is it and how is it that I do this and I do this effectively as it relates to empowering your team. Let's go. Let's start exploring these components. Right. I've got 5 of them for you. They all start with M, but I'm not going to say the 5 M's because that's what I like to do. Like shit. I think we do have, if you go back to episode 1, folks, I think we talk about before episode 1. How do you have before episode 1? It just is. Anyway, I think I talk about the 5 M's, which is talking about mindset and mastery, management, marketing. I'm short a couple. I'm short one. Mentoring. There you go. Thank you very much. But tonight we're not talking about those 5 M's. We're actually talking now. This is out of, if you might have heard of John Maxwell, and he's a leadership developer. He's pretty awesome. I'm part of that group as well because they do offer some great leadership training, which I enjoy. And this is really straight out of his book. It might have been, no, I'm not going to quote the book that it's out of because I can't actually remember. But it's definitely, so the 5 components that we're going to talk about really quick as it relates to empowering your team. The first one is modeling. The second one is mentoring. The third one is monitoring. The fourth one is motivating. And the fifth one is multiplying. So, again, if you're driving down the road and you pull over, because I don't want to give you any illegal advice, but I love to use, I like to be able to save some episodes. Like there's some stuff that I listen to that I'm like, once I've listened to it, that's it. But there's some episodes I'm like, I've really got to go and revisit that one and have another listen when I've got a pen in my hand. So maybe you'll do that on this one. But I'm going to give you the 5 and we're going to run through it pretty quickly. So I'm going to just quickly run through top to toe how it rolls. And then I'm going to share a quick story about where I've actually implemented this and used this. And it's to this day, it still serves me really well. The first one there is modeling. So John Maxwell says, I do it and you watch. Now, we have a very strong approach when it comes to human resource development, and we call it an apprenticeship plan. And if you're a tradie out there and you've done an apprenticeship, you understand what I'm saying. But what I've actually done more of this in, as well as construction, I guess, is in the office. Let's say in the corporate office that where I work every day, essentially. And I've had to do a lot of modeling because as you develop the business, you realize you need some human resource support. And so when you've got your systems in place, you need to be able to, demonstrate that. And so the first thing is modeling. So it really is just emulating the behaviors and practices of a successful individual or organization. So if you've done something for a while, essentially that you are a successful, individual or organization. So, what we want to do is be able to have someone watch what we do as the first part of empowerment, because that is always it's a very low pressure scenario. It's like, okay, and look, let me say this. This can apply to 2 scenarios: when you first got a new person in that you want to onboard, or whether you've got someone who's been with you for a while that you really want to, maybe hand off a task that you are doing. And of course, there is the old saying, automate, delegate, or detonate. And those 3 things. So you might have reached a point in your business where you go, you know what? I'm tired of doing this. I've got this wonderful team member who I now want to get to do that for me because I'm moving on and I've got to do some more higher value tasks. And so it's up to you. It's like, okay, so how do I take what I do out of my head per se and then, transfer that to another team member in such a way that they do it as good or better than I do. And so I think that's probably, if we were to use that scenario and you go, right, I've got either a new person on here or I've got someone, a bit of an old guard who's been around for a little while, but you want to transfer what it is that you do, let's say, to them because you want to move on to something else, this is going to apply. So modeling is essentially, I do it and you watch. That's the first thing. And that's essentially a demonstration of what you do. And I just don't, I've got this story that I want to tell, but it's going to kind of give away all the points. So let's run through it. So I'm going to run through the points and then I'm going to give you a story about how I did exactly what's going on. Okay. So point number 1 was modeling. I do it, you watch. That is essentially a demonstration. Point number 2 is mentoring. And John Maxwell says, I do it and you are with me. Okay. And essentially what that means is I do it and you help me do it. So now that you've had a demonstration, now there is a position whereby you're more educated than you were yesterday or last week or last month. And now we've come around and we're going to do it. And now you can actually, help me with what it is that I'm doing. And so as a trainer or a teacher or a leader, I might have to slow down the program because you understand this. If you've ever had an apprentice working for you, you have to slow some things down. And I've heard this saying over the last week a couple of times, which is ironic. If you want to go fast, you got to slow down. And that simply means that there's some things that we're doing at pace, but if we ever want to transfer the understanding and the skills, we will have to slow down. So for instance, if I wanted to go and hang a door, I'm going to do it 3 or 4 times faster than I would if I had to train somebody. And everyone's nodding their head. They know exactly what I'm talking about. So this is what we're talking about, to go faster. Now, I'm going to invest some time up front so that I don't have to hang the doors anymore. I'm going to get my carpenter to do that, and he's going to know exactly how I want it hung. He's going to know the process, how I do it. And so as I do it this time, and you know what, that's a really good example. And I'm sorry if you're not a carpenter or you don't hang doors, but it's a really good example. So let's say we've got a house full of, let's say, 20 doors. The first one I'm going to do, and you're going to watch me do it. Because even if you've been in the game for 10, 15, 20 years, 400 years, whatever the case may be, I want you to know how I hang doors, because the finish that I have is what I want you to deliver. And so I'm going to do it, and you are with me, and I'm going to get you to help me. So in the first instance, I'm just going to go and do it. And then we can have a little bit of a debrief. And then the second part of it is mentoring. I'm going to do it. You're with me. You talk to me about, what you're seeing, and you can sort of help me. The third thing is monitoring. So this is where I get the apprentice, let's say, no matter what their job description is, let's call it the person who is learning, the trainee, if you will. You do it and I'm with you. So this is what I like to do now. And I've done this. I've done this most recently. And ironically, it was with door hanging, which I was, a little bit unhappy about because the individual didn't quite cut the mustard, if you know what I mean. Anyway, so I would get you to do it, and I am with you. So as the trainer, I get you to hang the door, and I am there to help and give some advice, and you can hit me up and sort of go, what do you think about that door margin? And, how do you want this, what sort of, now in Australia we call it quirks, but here they call it a reveal. I think that's what they call it. And that is the little margin, which is about 3/16 or 3 millimeters, depending on which side of the Pacific you're on. And so it's about making sure that I want the trainee to ask me questions about the level of finish, because if the trainee doesn't ask me that, then they're going to run off and do whatever they want, and therefore the trainer hasn't done their job as well as they should have. And so we're going to have a quality or an output that really doesn't help leverage my time as the business owner. So we want to make sure that when you are watching, when you're there to help someone, that you are making sure that you give direction as required. Then really the fourth point is there. It's like, okay, now you're going to do it, and all I'm going to do is watch. The previous point was monitoring. You do it, and I'm with you, and I'm there to help. Now what I want to see is you're going to do it, and I'm just going to watch. So top to toe, get cracking, hang that door, go. And so what that does is, what we're slowly doing is we're increasing the pressure on the trainee as they gain more knowledge and understanding and experience. And so whether it's hanging one door, or whether it's, someone you've got on as a project supervisor or a project manager, and you've had that person on for 1 or 2 years, the same thing goes. The more experience, the longer you've been on, the higher the standard I expect. So now we're in a position where point number 4 is that you do it and I watch. Essentially, that is motivating, because now all the pressure is on that trainee to deliver the product at the level that has been set out to them in the previous 3 points. And so, I think at the end of that, it's, we're not expecting perfection, because we know sometimes, if you're like me, you've been hanging doors for 25 years or something. I'm so old. But, then you get someone in who's maybe only been around the trade for 5 years and really maybe didn't get trained well, didn't have the benefit of working under a great builder like I did. Shout out to Philip Usher Constructions there in Brisbane, Vegas. who's now on the Gold Coast building high rises. I was so blessed to just fall into that position, and it was just so good because I got such a good demonstration on how to do a lot of things very competently. But point number 5 is what we call multiplying. And guys and girls, as business owners, business developers, what you need to understand is the power of multiplication. Okay, we're talking about exponential growth. And so here's the kicker. Going through that whole process, point 1, modeling, point 2, mentoring, point 3, monitoring, point 4, motivating, point 5 is multiplication. Imagine if you train 1 and that 1 trains 2, and then those 2 train 2. What you're developing is a very high level, high quality system that is multiplying without your input. If you set the standard at the right height and where the gold standard needs to be, and you maintain that, so in other words, we've got to be very vigilant to make sure that the lines don't get blurred, then what you'll find is that that will give you some leverage. So essentially multiplying is now you do it, and someone is with you. So we actually go back to the beginning of the system where there's a modeling. So the person, the individual that you trained now becomes part of your multiplication factor in your business. So they take the whole program back to step 1, which is modeling, where they'll do it and another new person will watch. And you as the business owner know full well that the system that you have brought each trainee, each apprentice through has now stood your business development as it relates to human resource onboarding, training, and quality control, quality assurance in very good stead. They're in very good hands. This is how we do it. Duplication and leverage. That duplication and multiplication gives us leverage. That's exactly what we want. So, by embracing these components and making them part of your development process, you can enhance your skills, knowledge, and it optimizes your business operations, and that will help you achieve your long-term success, as a business owner. Now, just to round out, so this could be one of the shortest episodes I've ever done, but I want to give you a story. For me, working at corporate office, having, a handful of franchised operators and builders, there is obviously, we send out invoices once a month. And so I was basically the boots on the ground and, helped launch the business here in Canada. And I was doing everything because that's what you do. You're business owners. You understand that when you started out, you were wearing all the hats. Well, that was me as well. And then we had a financial administrator. It was time. And, we got her on. And the way that we go about, at one part at the end of the month, essentially, is that it was a little bit of a complicated program or process as far as, putting out invoices to the franchise general contractors. And so what I did one day, I had an idea. I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do what I do as far as the billings. And what I'm going to do as I do it on my other screen, I'm going to build a PowerPoint. Now, you may or may not know how to build a PowerPoint, but it was the easiest way for me to add pictures of what I was doing, and I would do screenshots and I would import those into the PowerPoint presentation, and then I would make notes as far as what I was doing as it related that screenshot. And so what I did is I built a small manual on how to do this specific job, and so it took me probably 3 or 4 times as long to do the billings for that month, but what I just created was a mini manual. And so the idea around that was I thought, how is the best way? And this is really before I, understood the, this process of modeling and mentoring and monitoring and motivating and the learn, do, teach type approach. But it was very practical to me. I thought, well, if I was in her position, how would I want to be brought up to speed as it relates to, her responsibilities and her roles, in that position. And so I created a mini manual, even though it took me 3 or 4 times as long. So what I did the next month is I took that mini manual and I gave it to her in advance. Pretty much I said, look, this is what I've designed. Have a read through this. I am going to, when I do it next month, I want you to be holding that manual and watch what I do. Remember, here we go. So it's I'll do it, you watch. That's stage 1. That's modeling. And so that was what we did on the first month. Month 2 comes around. I said, okay, what I want you to do is I want you to have the manual, the mini manual sitting there, and I'm going to do it. and you're going to help me with it. So I'm going to ask you questions about what do you think I should do next, refer to the manual, et cetera, et cetera. Month 3 comes around, it's monitoring. It's like, okay, so what I want you to do it, and I'm with you here to help. So if you've got any questions, we can resolve those immediately, and that'll help us get the job done. And that was fine. And then, of course, month 4 comes around, and there is essentially okay, you've watched me do it, you've helped me out do it, to put it together. You've had a crack at it with my help. Now, what I'm going to do, this is the ultimate test. I am going to be here to watch you do it, and you're going to go ahead and put the thing together by yourself in conjunction with having the mini manual. And so she did that. And you know what was funny? Because there was no pressure on her because of now, was it a fast? Did we go and do this, 10 times a day? No, we did not. We literally did it once a month for 4 months. But by month 4, there was a level of familiarity. She understood, so I set boundaries, managed expectations, put time limits on it. So that was really important. So we always wanted head office to be a very safe space. Okay, it's not perfect, but the way that I wanted to train and lead and develop, I understood it because I'd come through a training process as an apprentice myself, and there was some good things to that, and there was some not so good things, and but I want to make sure that if we are going to have a business that is a high performance business with a great culture, then we've got to treat people a certain way. There's got to be a level of respect. We've got to understand that we make decisions off the back of our core values, and one of those is open, honest communication. And so we want to make sure that we're communicating well backwards and forwards throughout this learning process. And so at the end of the day, now, like that's got to be 2 years ago. And after having rolled out that training mechanism and given the instruction and the training, I've not had to go back and correct anything. I've not had to go back and, come over the top and fix anything, like that. And so that really illustrated to me how powerful it is when you do have a system like that. It's good for the business owner, and it's also good for the employee or the team member as well. And of course, if we pushed it further and the demand was greater and I need to put a team underneath that finance administrator, then because she got brought through a certain way and the way that the demonstration was undertaken in the system, I would quickly bring her up to speed as a trainor, someone that's moved from a trainee position to now a trainor, give her some tips about, empathizing with the trainee. And then what I would experience then would be a level of multiplication. And so that's where, someone else does it, and then someone else is with that trainor, and of course that gives you the leveraging capability. So look, I think in conclusion, it's there's a lot of power around it. Systems that you implement in your business will determine your output. So you can only do so much per month or per week or per day, but if you have systems where you can then bring good people in too, those systems and good humans will increase your output. Now, if you're pricing right, and we won't get talking about profit margins, but if you're pricing right and your recruitment process is good, your onboarding and your training is top line, then what you'll find is then all you'll have to worry about is now lead generation. It's like, how do I get more top of funnel so that I can do more business and essentially develop a higher level of profit. And so, I just think that, if you're sitting there and you're understanding the concept, I think building and construction as a business owner in the game can be very, very lonely, and, I've had about 4 meetings in the last 48 hours, with a couple of, I talk to my general contractors at Smith & Sons fairly regularly. But I meet with all of my coaching clients every week for at least 30 minutes, if not more. They'll tell you that I'm not very good at doing 30-minute meetings. Actually, my videographer will tell you that I'm not very good at doing 30-minute. I'm not very good at doing 30-minute podcasts either. I think where you've got to understand is that these kinds of moments in time where maybe there's a light going on for you, there is definitely some merit around the whole, because I'd been franchising for 4 or 5 years before I decided to launch a coaching business. So, I want you to understand that you don't have to be out there by yourself. There is concepts and principles around how to build a better construction business. And we talk about, more leads, more profit, better lifestyle. And so, I really want to, I guess, encourage you to consider. I want you to race over to elitebusinessadvisory.com. Check out my website. It's a pitch for coaching, guys and girls, but I'm telling you, the failure rate is 50% of builders go out of business in the first 5 years. That is a fact. And it's because of lack of education. And, I talk to all of my business clients and my builders in Smith & Sons, and there's just this, this complete consistency across all of the builders where they go, I love to build. And I keep saying this because I am having an epiphany, because now it's not just about, what I do with Smith & Sons. It's now I'm seeing it from third-party builders where it's now their business, their brand, their life is on the line. And I'm sitting there going, dude, some things have got to change. We've got to jettison some overhead. We've got to increase our profit margins. And so, look, if you can do nothing else, you need to think about it this way. You need to invest in yourself and your own learning, because you have got great skills and you do know a lot about construction, but how to make money from construction, that's where everybody that I talk to, I just about categorically say everybody, because I've seen enough now to know that there's enough consistency in what I'm dealing with. And so I want you to be encouraged. Keep doing what you're doing, and but be ready to just pivot. And just hit me up. Go to that website. There's a book a consultation button. Hit it. Let's have a chat for 30 minutes. It's going to be more like 60 minutes. I think it's foolish to at not least, I'm giving the opportunity to kick a can. Now, just on that, I would say into the new year, because of the inquiry level that I've got as it relates to coaching, there probably will be a price rise into the new year. There's only a few spots that I'm going to go to with the current pricing. And so don't delay. Have a chat with me. I'm just going to, what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. Let me give you a heads up. This is what I do. We're going to sit down. We're going to talk about, I'm going to get to know your business. Tell me a little bit about your business. Tell me where you're struggling. And then what I'm going to try and do is give you as many customized tips in that 30 to 60 minutes as I can to demonstrate how it is that we can help you make more money. I guarantee you that I can probably help you with 10 to 20% more profit from your existing business by making a few changes. And that is the facts. I've seen it enough times now, and I've got some pretty happy elite business clients, and I'm very blessed to have the opportunity to work with them. So guys, it will really help you build a kick-ass business. Being out there by yourself as an island is a risky business. LeBron needs a coach. I would encourage you to at least have a chat with me. If not this year, if you're not going to come on board with Elite Business this year, that's fine. But I'm telling you, we're that close to the end of the year, we really should be making some preparation, taking some measures to make sure that 2024 is much, 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 much better and more profitable than 2023 was. Have a great day. Have a great night. Go build a kick-ass business, and I will see you on the next episode. Cheers.